Okay, so now our next piece of evidence that our behaviors lead us to form our attitudes would be the foot in the door phenomenon. So the idea with the foot in the door phenomenon is that getting a person to agree to a small compliance will often lead them to a larger compliance down the road. So here's an example of a study that was conducted on this topic. A political campaigner asks if you would open the door just enough to pass a clipboard through. You agree to open the door a little bit so you can look at the clipboard. After reading what's on the clipboard, you're like, maybe I will sign this petition. And then you can think to yourself, well, now that I signed it, and you're asking me for a contribution, maybe I will give a little contribution, paying him by check. So now he has your name and your address and everything so he can follow up with you in the future. Yay! I'm having a stuck computer here real quick. So what it's supposed to say now is, what happened? Apparently what happened is my computer is completely frozen. Ah, there we go. What happened here? Yay! Basically what happened there is that you agreed to a larger request after complying with a smaller one. That's the foot in the door phenomenon, right? So a great way to get somebody to do something bigger, something that you know that they're probably going to say no to right off the cuff. If you ask them straight out, will you give me a ride into Spokane from Cheney? They might be like, I wasn't going to Spokane right now, so no. So maybe give them a smaller request. Hey, can you give me a ride down to, the gas station at, 4 Lakes? And then when you're getting ready to get out of the car, go, oh, it looks like my ride hasn't gotten here yet. How would you feel about taking me to the petrol station? Maybe they're waiting for me there, right? And you should just keep doing it. I wish I was making that up off the top of my head. I changed the locations from the real story, but I actually had a student who asked me to give him a ride to the 7-Eleven. And there's a 7-Eleven maybe a mile from the campus where we were. So I'm like, sure, hop in. Then he goes, oh, no, not this one. And then we end up driving about 5 miles away from my destination to get him to the 7-Eleven he wanted to get to. And I complied because guess what? By getting in my car, I felt committed. Like I had taken responsibility and there was no way I was going to drop him off at this 7-Eleven, right? So I'm like, oh, okay, I guess. So I took him down to where he wanted to go. And so that little small compliance made it much more likely that I would agree to the larger one. If he had started off in the very beginning saying, can you take me to the 7-Eleven on the correct street name so I would have known where I was going, I would have said, oh, sweetie, I'm sorry, I don't have time. But instead, I ended up getting the foot in the door phenomenon. Now that one, I told you a story on a friend and said I hope that she didn't hear it. This one, that student, I said, okay, so now that you foot in the door me, I get to tell the story for all of perpetuity. And he goes, okay, so accolades to him for correct use of the foot in the door phenomenon, because he got more from me, more compliance from me than I would have given otherwise. So good job. So the effects of playing a role is another way that behavior leads to attitudes. When we talk about roles, we oftentimes think about like actors, and so it feels like something that a person is putting on, right? But roles are sometimes placed on us. They aren't necessarily, we've chosen to play the part of this individual right now. Instead, the environment may expect something from us. So, for example, your parents expect you to act like their child. Even as you get older, you're supposed to be their child in certain ways. I mean, your parents can respect you all they want, but the truth is when certain circumstances occur, their word is going to be final. It doesn't matter what you say. Like, okay, I guess I'm still your child. So some roles you're born into, some roles are placed on you. Like, have you ever been in a group and the first thing that you're supposed to do is decide on a leader, and somehow you got decided on the leader. You didn't volunteer for it, but somehow you became the leader of the group. Sometimes the role is foisted on you. And then other roles are roles that we accept and we know how to sort of shift through kind of seamlessly. So like, some of you might actually work on campus, and this makes it even more tricky to go from like your student role on campus to now you're an employee on campus, where maybe other students come and need something from you, and So that can be kind of tricky, but others of you might have jobs off campus where, so you're a student by day or by night, and then you're, an employee someplace by day or by night, right? You have your different roles that you play. And being a student is a different kind of role, right? I mean, you're supposed to be inquisitive. You're supposed to be interested. You don't have to provide customer service or anything when you're being a student. You have to figure out what the boss, aka the professor, wants, just like you kind of have to do at work. But it's less clear in college sometimes. The professors can be a little bit ambiguous about exactly what they're looking for, whereas at work they may have given you like an actual book with all the rules about what you're supposed to say and do in different situations. So it can be kind of tricky to move between the different roles. Some of you might be parents or have a spouse or a significant other. And so you have to move through the roles of those, right? Like you probably play several roles every day across different contexts. So the effect of playing a role is really important for our understanding of what causes us to behave the way that we do and what shapes our attitudes. Something that Phil Zimbardo, one of the big social psychologists, probably the most famous one, has been interested in his entire career, is the role of context in determining your attitudes. Like if I can get you to behave in a certain way in a certain context, will that actually change your attitude? So the thing that he's the most famous for is the Stanford Prison Experiment. And I just want to warn you that the video that I've chosen is part of a documentary. It was not intended to be, shown to children. It has profanity in it and stuff. So just brace yourself if you don't like to hear profanity. But this video is a really good truncated retelling of what happened in the Stanford Prison Experiment. So go ahead and watch this video. You're going to have to agree that you're 18, even if you're not. So, if you're enrolled in college, I think you get a dispensation for lying to YouTube that you're over 18. And then come on back and we'll talk about this video on the other side.